This story is about a very unique person that I have known in my life. I wouldn't say I'd had the pleasure of knowing, sort of the displeasure of knowing. But I grew up in a very funky Pentecostal church environment, and you meet a lot of unusual characters. That kind of environment, like that hyper spiritual space, like just draws such characters. And one such character was a woman whose name I will not use because this is not the most flattering story. So I'll call her Diane. And Diane was a very peculiar individual. She was like a know-it-all, like just a very chronic know-it-all, so really hard to have a conversation with her about just about anything. And she was also just very eccentric. Like, so to give you a sense of like her vibe, even like her look, her style, and her personality, imagine a hobbit from the Shire, leaves the Shire, gets really into like New Age mysticism and like crystals and shit, and then converts to like diehard, hardcore, fundamentalist Pentecostal Christianity from that, okay? But she keeps the style of the Hobbit, she keeps the holistic medicine vibe, and then she goes, so she's collected all of this like accoutrement, and with every successive iteration of her personal development, she's just lost her grip on reality a little bit more every single time. So this is Diane. Very frustrating person. Like, just to give a couple of examples, Diane, for whatever reason, felt like she was, although she was like an evangelical Christian, felt like she was an expert in Judaism. So anytime she'd speaking to like a Jewish individual, she would correct them about things. Like she knew better about like how their religion worked. Another example, she was actually avowedly like Native American, part Native American. And she talked about this a lot. I eventually found out it was because it was revealed to her in a dream. So this is Diane, a very interesting person, very difficult person to talk to. Kind of like looks not through you or around you, but just kind of like you're not there when you talk to her. Not someone you want to hang out with. So anyway, so here's the core of the story. It was a Sunday. I played bass in a band at church. So like I was up there, and it was a day where we were gonna have a big potluck in the church basement. And so I was like up there with the band, like putting my gear away and stuff. And it was a while until I came back down. So I got back down to the church dinner, and like a lot of people had already loaded up their plates and were all seated. So I went and unloaded up my plate, and I'm getting like all the standard stuff, like the Kaiser roll. Like, this is Scranton, by the way. So for whatever, we always had Kaiser rolls and like cold cuts, and like, so I'm loading up this big sandwich, I got a potato salad, and I see this no bake veggie pizza thing. I don't know if you ever had one of these, but it's sort of made of like Pillsbury like biscuit bread, like kind of rolled out, and then there's this like kind of veggie like cream cheese kind of onion dip stuff like spread out instead of like the sauce, and then there's cheese sprinkled on it, and there's like chunks of like broccoli and stuff, and like it's actually pretty good. So I grabbed like a couple slices of that, and I go try to figure out where I'm gonna sit down, and there's like all the tables are full, and there's like one seat right next to Diane. So I take my seat, I'm sitting down next to Diane, and I'm eating my food, and I'm like looking every other direction than Diane's direction, because I don't really want to get trapped in like an interminable conversation about everything she knows about either Judaism or indigenous culture. And eventually I get kind of sucked into some conversation with her, and she's talking about the food, and I go, yeah, I really like this veggie pizza. And I say it, and right after I say it, I take a big bite. And she's like, I made that veggie pizza. And she starts telling me all about how she made it and the whole damn process. And like, so I'm chewing this bite, and as she's talking to me and she's like sucked me into her like monologue, I feel a very coarse, long hair inside of my mouth. Now, we all know like what we do when we feel a hair in our mouth and we're eating food, right? Like I had three options. Option one, you just reach in and you just like pull the hair all the way out. And like, that's what a lot of people would do, right? Option two, you take like a napkin and you spit the whole bite out, right? Because there's a hair in it, and who knows, like did little pieces of hair break off? Like this bite is disqualified. Like, that's option two. Option three is what no one ever does. which is you consume the hair along with all of the food. Those are your three options. Spit out just the hair, spit out everything in your mouth, or eat it. Eat the hair. So I'm staring at Diane as she's talking to me, and I'm thinking, well, what I want to do is spit the whole thing out. But I just told her how much I love this pizza. So like, as she's telling me about how she made it, I'm going to just be like, hang on a second. Like, so I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be like, this is your hair, Diane. Do you see this? And like slowly draw it out of my mouth. So being like a fairly socially awkward teenager at the time, I just swallowed it. Like I just felt the hair like go down my throat into my digestive system. There's really no moral to this story other than the fact that I did do that. But I will say, everything I told you about Diane, I'm very happy to like not have Diane as a part of my everyday life. But here I was sitting in a church setting, sort of Eucharistically consuming a little bit of Diane. And now every single day I have to wake up and go through life knowing that there will always be just a little bit of Diane living inside of me. Thank you.